going to do the study. This is the official first session of our CBAP class, and this is for more from the preparation for the certification perspective. So before we get into the full-fledged curriculum and the details, start learning, first understand what exactly the CBAP is all about, how the exam process works, what kind of a question comes, how the categorization, the questions are divided into, what is the time given for that. So IIBA certification. IIBA is the governing agency which governs the CBAP session, and this is more for that whenever we are teaching, we must provide all these type of information for people to understand what the CBAP is all about. Now, about this IIBA certification, here we'll talk about the CBAP exam information more. Since this slide is common for CBAP and CCNA, so you'll find some common information. But as part of the study group, what are the things we can present it, what kind of a session we can conduct, how the schedule would be, all these needs to be captured as part of it, okay? The introduction will get to that. Certification perspective, what is required? From the overview perspective, if you see that IIBA has CCBA and CBAP. CCBA is a different kind of a certification as compared to CBAP. CBAP is, both are for the BA, but CCBA and the CBAP is little differently how it works. In this session, we are going to talk about CBAP. So BABOK, the full form of this book is Business Analyst Body of Knowledge. IIBA have a book. That book access, Nikita, you will have it in the shared drive, okay? In the knowledge base, we will, even though this book comes with the license, it's not a distributable material, but you will have it on the knowledge base. At least I am a IIBA member, so I have this book. You can access that book. Now, how the question works? Okay, sorry, it jumped. So BA Body of Knowledge version 2 is the current version. Not for the sole source of question for the exam. So this is not for the question bank perspective. You would require to have a separate question bank and the practice session for that. BABOK references other sources candidates may find helpful. So there are plenty of books available in the market which are available, which you can use for the preparation of certification perspective. The exam is of 3.5 hours to complete the overall exam, and it's a computerized exam where you need to go to the prometric and give the exam. Notified of pass and fail status immediately. So once you complete the exam and click submit, immediately you will come to know what is pass, whether somebody is pass or fail, you come to know that. Do you require to have a IIBA membership? No, you are not required to have a IIBA membership. That's what it is. Let's understand CBAP exam in detail. So you are going to have 150 multiple choice questions with 4 possible answers. Based on the comprehension, like any term, definition, how to use that definition. So you always have to find the best suited answer. Situational analysis, so the scenario will be given, and that's a very generic way to design the exam for whether it is a PMP exam or whether it is a IIBA exam. Guessing unlikely to get the right answer. 2 choices may seem correct. So as I said, you need to find the best answer. So let's say out of 4, there could be 2 answers which are right, but you have to find which have a higher weightage, and that answer you need to correct. Knowing the body of knowledge necessary to determine correct answer. So body of knowledge is your base book for everything, but outside of that there has to be lot of question bank you have to refer to pass the exam. Practical exams are helpful, that's what it is. If you get the answer wrong, give you focus for revision. Yeah. So the first $125 US, I did not check recently if they have changed something. That is the application fee for the first exam. Then if you are doing, so this will be taken when you submit the application. $325 is the exam fee for the members. Okay, and there is a different price for the non-members. As you see, it's a $450 for the non-members. Rewrite, if you're redoing the exam, $250, $375 for the non-member. That's pretty generic. There is nothing which you get as an additional if you take a membership. They just take you $150 for your membership, like that, $175 for the membership. So doesn't make any sense. So whether you pay $325 and give the exam and go home, or whether you take $325 plus $175. So it moreover comes down to same. So there is nothing kind of a saving, you see. CBAP exam question breakdown, how it is. So there is different knowledge base. Knowledge base means the knowledge area which BA should know. So the questions are divided in this way. So most of the questions, the highest level of questions you will have it are almost 19.33%. Planning and monitoring knowledge area. Elicitation, which is the chapter 2 or 3, I guess, which is 14. Requirement management 16%. Enterprise analysis 15%. Requirement analysis 19.33, solution assessment and validation 16. So this is the percentage of the breakdown, how the questions will come from each of the knowledge area. Now from the experience perspective, this is what you have to showcase: 5 years of BA work in at last 10 years, 6 months, 900 hours demonstrated experience in 4 out of 6 BABOK. So all these things, they look when you are filling out the application. So this is how we need to make sure when we are filling out the application form, all of our explanation, all of our roles and responsibilities which we are showcasing, whichever company we have worked in, this is how we are showcasing it. Okay, the project start and end date, the number of hours we have worked on, and under that number of hours, what exactly we did. 21 hours of BA professional development in the at last 4 years, completed by application date. 2 professional references. Professional references could be anyone, internal, external, client, okay, or as it says here, see, or CBAP, not project manager. It says 2 professional, career manager, internal or external client, or CBAP, not project manager. Okay, so may anyone who you think you have worked with and can be used as your reference, you can provide that reference over here. But make sure that you are showcasing as a supervisor. That person was a supervisor for you, okay, in that given time frame, the tenure. CBAP certification process. How the certification process works: complete the application in the time-consuming. Application is completed online. Progress of preparing application section in shows online. Refer to the handbook if you have any additional question. But see here, number 1 is gather work experience. See, we will go through all these things at the time of when you are trying to submit it or fill out your form. Need hours and content related to PMBOK knowledge area. So we have a structure how we help you in that. Resume, project report, billing records. Billing records in the sense that, okay, how many hours of timesheet you have built. So usually that way people track it, but since you are coming from different background, we need to do it in a different way. Now, use spreadsheet log to assist as listed by project. Information need to be transposed to the application. So these are the different ways to handle that. Then arrange professional references. Need contact details for references. The references will be contacted via email to complete reference even before the online application completed. So the email alert will be sent out to them just to make sure that, okay, yes, you have worked in that particular capacity. That's what it is, okay. Complete application form. Transpose work experience, complete all sections. Personal information, educational details. Now, when we say personal information, this is how your screen will look like. When you are having a personal information next phase, this is how the screen looks like. Education, this is where you enter and keep adding. It will allow you to add education perspective. Work experience, you can add it. Work experience 2, work experience 3, total BA hours. As you see here, it showcases that number of hours you have worked. And here you need to showcase that, okay, under what knowledge area, what's the percentage of it you have done. Requirement management communication, what is the percentage of work you have done? Enterprise analysis, what percentage of work you have done? So we need to make sure when we submit that application, all these breakdowns are according to what is expected by the body of knowledge. Same goes for requirement analysis, solution assessment and validation. Professional development, what kind of a work you have done, okay, the course name. The professional development, here you can just put some kind of a 24 hours within the last 4 years, okay. So you can put down that, okay, what was the institution from where you have done, course name, and all these things you can put down. So for professional development, you may use any kind of a seminar you have attended, any kind of a course you have done, all these things you can add. Professional development, these are the things you are adding up. Sorry. And then you have a references. Reference, you have a name, email address, and the phone number and the city which is required. Rest all is optional. Once you have that, notified of receipt within 1 week. Assessed within 21 days. Not approved. Can reapply after 3 months to correct deficiencies. Another application fee required. So every time you reapply, that $125 is applied there. Prepare for exam. When you are preparing for the exam, what are the things you need to, okay, you are given approval for 1 year. PM, body of knowledge, have all the knowledge area which you need to read and study. Join study groups or use mentor forum, whatever is needed. Take CBAP prep courses. Use practice exam. Practice exam is a key to pass this. Take exam. Work on online exam to be conducted regularly in Perth. Pass exam. Granted CBAP designation. Do not pass. May retake exams once within 1 year after 3 months. So you can only give exams twice in the 1 year tenure. After 3 months is that minimum limit, minimum lag has to be there. Qualifying to apply, prepare application, process, question banks, and that's it pretty much for the introductory piece of it. Okay. So now let's move on to the second session. Now we are going to start up with a full-fledged study of the body of knowledge book to see where and how we need to study the Now this is the first, which we call it as a introductory of knowledge. Let's understand what are the things there as part of the chapter. So under this chapter, what are the things, what is the agenda, what are the details we are going to understand. Number one, we are going to study the complete course overview. Number two, introduction of business analysis, and all these topics what we are going to cover, all these topics we are going to cover in terms of our body of knowledge, how the knowledge area has structured, and what are the things we need to study as part of it. So all these information what you see is all the details coming out of the body of knowledge. But since the body of knowledge is almost 300-page document, okay, so we are trying to summarize that, but on the same side we need to make sure that we study each and everything as part of that study, and we cover the complete book curriculum. Key concepts. So we will see what are the key concepts. Then we have a key knowledge area. What are the different knowledge areas which are defined as part of the body of knowledge. Then we have activities or tasks. What are defined as an activity and what is defined as a task. Tools and techniques. What are the tools and techniques which are used as part of the introduction session or other body of knowledge, or you call it as a knowledge area. Any body of knowledge is divided into different knowledge area which BA should have. So when we get to the different tools and techniques, and there is our key knowledge areas. This is where we will see how that complete body of knowledge book is divided into different knowledge areas. Then we have analyst underlying competencies. How that works, what are the competencies required, all these things we are going to learn as part of this session. Let's move on. Overview. First, let's understand what is business analysis body of knowledge. The purpose of this course is to define the skills of a business analyst. Course provides the industry's best practices for the analyst, which can be used on day-to-day work. It contains the background of the business analysis task and activity which must be performed for the correct identification of future state or the business requirement. So as it says here that, okay, this is the building block of a business analyst. What a day-to-day activity is required for the business analyst. These are the best practices which are combined together as part of the body of knowledge, and this is what is called as a background of overall business analysis task and activity. It also going to direct the analyst with the right way to advance with the steps in terms of what sequence needs to be followed through the requirement process. So it's not like just getting the work done in a right way. That's what the body of knowledge is all about. So all the tools and the techniques which we are going to learn, that's what it is going to help us understand that, okay, if the work is given, anyone can do that. But who can do it in a more efficient way? That's what we will learn as a business analyst. Introduction of business analysis. Let's understand when we say introduction. Business analysis is a practice of intelligent business change needs, assessing the influence of those fluctuations, capturing, evaluating, and recording requirements, and at least supporting the statement and delivery of those requirements with appropriate parties or the stakeholders. So now it is talking about that, okay, how you are supporting all the details of a BA. Okay, you have the fluctuations, changes, the requirements are going up and down. You are capturing those fluctuations. You are evaluating that and then recording the requirement. Based on that evaluation, you are capturing the requirements. But at the same time, you are also making sure that you have enough supporting facts, whether that is a third party or whether it is any of the stockholders who are going to provide that requirement. So that's how you are identifying and capturing the business requirement. So business analysis is a practice of enabling changes in an organizational context by defining needs and recommending solutions. So what you are doing is you are enabling the practice of enabling change in an organizational context. How? By defining the need and recommending solutions. So you are showcasing what exactly the need is, and you can identify the need only when you have tracked the fluctuation and then evaluated the fluctuations which you have captured, and then you are recording all the details, all the findings, all the analysis. Now, so recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. So by doing this, you are making sure the stakeholders are having a benefit by that. So if you are capturing in a right way, let's say you have a requirement and you are just going blindly and saying, oh, we should do that. There is no due diligence done. Then that's not a right way to provide solution, because you don't know what is the pros and cons of it. So the set of tasks and techniques that are used to perform business analysis are defined in a guide to business analysis body of knowledge, which is called as a BABOK guide. This is what more from the introductory perspective. Let's understand in detail what are the key concepts which we need to understand. So when we say the key concepts, there are multiple things comes into the mind. Key concepts are: number one, your domain knowledge. Okay, you have a domain. Domain proficiency is hands-on business experience or domain knowledge developed by functioning in a specified industry such as payroll, retail, banking, insurance, telecom, or in any particular business process such as client relationship management, finance, retail, sales, and marketing. It is very vital asset for a business analyst working on specific IT project. See, if you are working in a finance, you must have a finance knowledge. If you are working in a healthcare, you must have a healthcare. If you are in a telecom, you must have a telecom. If you are in retail, you must have a retail experience. Why? Because the BA is just a role where this domain is the base. Without a base, you cannot perform your role efficiently. So that's why it says it's a vital asset for a business analyst working on a specific IT project. So unless you understand the domain, working on an IT project is not going to help you. Possibly domain expertise is not required in entirely all kind of projects a business analyst would work on. So why does it say there? Because nobody expects a business analyst to be pro in any of this, but at least the basic understanding, the basic domain knowledge is much important. So there are two sentences which contradict each other, but still they give you the essence, they give you the value of why domain knowledge is considered as a key concept. Then it comes down to solution. A solution is a set of changes which need to be made for the system enhancement to achieve the future need or to resolve the current problem of the system. So let's say there is a problem. You assess the problem. Now you need to find out how to resolve that problem, how to resolve that issue. And when you are talking about that, that means you are talking about how to enhance the current system or how to resolve the current issue. You can only resolve the current issue by enhancing some system. So role of the analyst is to help the organization to identify the effective solution by isolating the set of changes from the available rules. So again, role of the analyst is to help the organization. The point here is identify the effective solution by isolating the set of changes from the available rules. So let's say you have set of options available. Let's say you have 10 options available. By using them, you can improve the system. But not necessary all 10 you have to use it. So what business analyst role is? The business analyst role is to find out the most important and most efficient solution, identify and share it with the stakeholders. That's what the business analyst role is all about. And so it says isolating the set of changes from the available rules. So whatever options, alternates you have available, identify them. And then separate out the efficient one. On top of that, it also says that, okay, identify the set of constraints. Constraints in the sense, like you have a budget, you have any legal issues, any regulatory affair or time, all these things. You need to identify those things and understand the impact on the organization and let the stakeholder know about that. So that is also comes under part of the solution over here. Moving on to what are the other concepts, key concepts. The next one we call out is the requirement. What is a requirement? A requirement is a set of instructions provided by the stakeholder. We all know that. Why we are studying it? We are studying it because from the CBAP exam perspective. We all understand what the requirement is. In other words, it is a future need or the capacity or capability of the stakeholder. Why it is a capacity or the capability of stakeholder? Because whatever requirement they are defining it today, they are defining the requirement for their future. Because once the requirement is captured, the solution is defined and the team is ready to develop that, that means you are enhancing their future. So it's a future need or the capacity or the capability of the stakeholder. According to the body of knowledge, it's classified into multiple criteria. Let's understand one by one. The number one they consider as a business requirement. Let's understand what exactly they mean by business requirement. Business requirement is nothing but a high-level goal or objective of an overall business. So when we say that, okay, write down the business requirement, your business requirement could be one-liner document, one paragraph document, and just kind of a 100-page document. So everything is considered as a business requirement. But on a higher level, whatever is the goal of the project, that's what is your business requirement. Okay, what is best describes the need of an organization as a whole is your business requirement. Now let's understand is the stakeholder requirements. So the another type is your stakeholder requirement. I will give you the example for all to better understand this. Stakeholder requirement could be a very specific to particular area or the part of the business where the stakeholder may have the impact on its day-to-day work perspective. So stakeholder, let's say in healthcare, if you're talking, you have a claims, member, provider, all the combined cumulative requirement, let's say this 50-10 project, ICD-10 project. This is the business requirement. The ICD-10 implementation is a business requirement. But under ICD-10, you have an impact on the claim processing, so claims in the area will give the claims requirement, that is the stakeholder requirement, because that they are only looking at their own requirement, their own impact. Whatever information you get it from the members area, that's their impact. They are only thinking about the member impact. Same goes for the provider. Provider is only looking for the provider impact. So that's what the stakeholder specific requirement is. Solution requirement. What is solution requirement? This type of solution requirement are created to make sure business and the stakeholder requirements are achieved by implementing the functional and non-functional requirements. So catch here is, remember when I'm underlining something, always try to remember that, because those are the key concepts you are going to have it. So you have this functional. So your question could be that what kind of a solution requirement you have. You have a functional and the non-functional solution requirement. Remember that. So these are the two types of requirements. What is functional requirement? Functional requirement is nothing but which describes the behavior, the capability of the system which it will be able to perform. The non-functional requirement could be anything. Non-functional could be your environment, the server details, so the quality of the work, training, these are all non-functional requirements. Okay, so always remember the functional and the non-functional, both type of requirements comes under the solution requirement. Now the next one comes down to your transition requirement. What is transition requirement? Transition requirement is when something is done. What are do's and don'ts? So when you are handing over to, let's say, I am part of the project team and now the project is done and now I am handing over this work to the operational team for their day-to-day use. Now I need to tell them, I need to warn them that, okay, these are the do's and these are the don'ts. If you are going to use this system, these are the steps you should follow and these are the things you should not try because system is not capable of handling these things. So it is a requirement which elaborates the do's and don'ts which needs to be followed and maintained after the transition is done from the current state to the future state. So the current state to the future state, the transition is happening where you need to understand how to do that, when to do that, where to do that, how the system is going to work. Okay, these are the things you need to understand as part of the transition requirement. So these are the classifications according to body of knowledge: business requirement, stakeholder requirement, solution requirement, and the transition requirement. So these are the branching you have it for the key concepts. So your key concepts are divided into 3 pieces. domain knowledge, solution, and the requirement. And further, requirement is divided into 4 bullet points: your business requirement, stakeholder requirement, solution requirement, and the transition requirement. Any questions so far? Okay, let's move on. Now these are the knowledge areas. When we say knowledge area, what exactly it means? Okay, let's understand each of them, and then this is what is further divided into separate chapters, like planning and monitoring is a one chapter, data elicitation is another chapter, requirement and management is another chapter. Okay, so these are the knowledge area. Like as a project manager, have a different knowledge area. Okay, as a business analyst, you have a different knowledge area. So these are the knowledge area you as a business analyst must understand, and this is what the overall body of knowledge is all about. So introduction is the chapter 1, this is chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8. So these are the 8 chapters which you need to understand. Knowledge area is all about where, when, and what needs to be done. It also highlights the detail about how to do the task. That it says that when, where, what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. That's what the knowledge area is all about. So let's understand in detail that, okay, number 1 is your planning and monitoring. How you should plan and determine what are the activities needs to be performed. So this is plan the task, and then at the same time you must monitor the task, that whether what you planned, where your actual and the plan is going hand in hand or not. It shouldn't be like that, okay, you planned for 4 days, but now your actual work has taken 8 days. So that's not a good planning. So under this, we will learn in detail that, okay, this also covers that, okay, how to identify the stakeholders who will be participating as part of your project. All these things you do it as under this particular knowledge area, which is the planning and the monitoring. The next one is your data elicitation. Data elicitation is nothing. You are just trying to understand the need of a business or any need, concern, any environmental related issue. So that's what the data elicitation is all about. Then you have a requirement management and communication. How to manage the requirements and how to communicate. What are the multiple direction of communication you can have? How many channel of communication you can have? Okay, those are the things you understand as part of the requirement management and communication. So we are down with planning and monitoring, data elicitation, then we did requirement management and communication. The next is your enterprise analysis. What do we mean by enterprise analysis and how this works? This is elaborated in one of the chapter in very detail. So we will learn what are the inputs for the enterprise analysis, how we process those inputs, and what is the final output we get out of it. Now let's understand this, that what other things. It also talks about enterprise analysis, that, okay, how to scope out the solution, do the feasibility study, how to implement the solution. All these things are captured as part of the enterprise analysis. Then we have a requirement analysis, very important chapter. Requirement analysis talks about lot of things. Things like that, okay, how to prioritize the work, how you can progressively elaborate your work. Then it also talks about that identify and analyze the stakeholder need so that the solution can be redefined. Unless we understand the need of a stakeholder, we can't design a solution. So solution design directly depends upon the stakeholder need. That's what we will learn as part of the requirement analysis. Why? Because this requirement analysis, if you see in the previous chapter we had it, you have the stakeholder as a key as part of that. Then you have an assessment and validation. What do we mean by assessment and validation? What exactly we do as part of the assessment and validation? So assessment and validation, it's more from that, okay, whatever we have done so far, assess that. what solution we have designed, what kind of a stakeholder need we have understood, what kind of a feasibility analysis we have done. We have to assess that whether that is in line with the requirement or not, or is there any gap between what we have identified and what the stakeholder need is. So identify the gap. Find out any flaws, any issues with the solution which are identified. If everything is good, then start developing the solution to see how well that goes. Okay, so that's what your assessment and the validation is all about. Then you have underlying competencies. Underlying competencies, when it says, just make sure you understand this word competencies. It's like the performance of the business analysis. What are the characteristics? What are the good and the bad side of the analysis? So underlying competencies, that's what it is. You are judging the behavior of that overall analysis which you have done. What are the things can be supported, what are the things cannot be supported in the later stage of the project. So these are the different knowledge areas which we are going to study in way detail as part of this class. So let's move on further. As you see here, this is how the body of knowledge has elaborated all the knowledge areas. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you see here, this is showcasing the relationship between the different knowledge areas. So you have a business analysis, planning and monitoring, which is the number 1 step. Then what is number 2? Number 2 is your data elicitation. What is number 3? Number 3 is your enterprise analysis. What is number 4? Number 4 is your requirement analysis. I guess I'm going right. Yes. Okay, no, I have gone wrong. So this is number 3. Yeah, I was thinking something is wrong. Then this is number 4. Okay. This is number 5. This is number 6. And this is number 7. So first thing, we identify, we plan. Monitoring goes side by side. Always remember. So as you see this dotted line, that's what it is. Monitoring is always happening. Planning is also, as you see, is always happening, because if you are improving something, your planning have the direct impact on that. So this is how they have elaborated the relationship of this. Now, we are going to understand each of them in detail. But before we do, let's understand what these knowledge area. This is what we just discussed. Okay, planning and monitoring. What we do as part of the planning and monitoring. Elicitation. You have elicitation is a process which explains how analysts can work with the stakeholder to understand their need, environment, and the risk associated with it. Requirement management and communication. Managing conflict to make sure the team or the stakeholder are in agreement in terms of the scope of the project or the requirement. Enterprise analysis. During the phase, it elaborates on the feasibility of the work and the definition of the solution opportunity. Requirement analysis. The knowledge area enhances skills of the analyst by showcasing the tools and the tips like how to prioritize the work and analyze the stakeholder requirements from the solution perspective. Assessment and validation. What exactly is that? When you are talking, identify the best solution option to satisfy the business need by doing the gap analysis. It also allows the analyst to assess the performance and the effectiveness of the solution. Underlying competencies. It defines the X factor like behavioral, knowledge, or any other which is effective during business analysis process. So this is what all the knowledge area is all about. Now let's understand the activities. Okay, hold on. When we say, I'm not sure where the slide go, but when we say the activities for this, activity is, just hold on, let me first see, do I have the right slide? Okay. bear with me. I'll try to find it out where exactly, but still. Let's move on to this. After the knowledge area is done, there is something called activity, or you can call it as a task. So you can say as a task. Let's understand this. What exactly that means? When we say task, then there are multiple things comes into the picture. Number one question we should be asking, the reason, okay? The reasoning, like why we are doing this task, or you can say the purpose of the task. Number two is the description or the details of the task. Description of the task. Now, then later on, once we understand, then is there any other thing you can think about it? Yes, we have to. That okay, once you have the description, then we need to think about the input. What are the details required to achieve this particular description of the process? Whenever you are thinking about an input, your input could be your internal input could be your external input. So always remember that what are the inputs, what are the elements. Then what could be your technique? Techniques. Then who are the stakeholders? We need to understand all these things to make sure that we have the right piece of information as part of this. Now let's understand each of the details in a detailed way. Once we have this, now when we say the reason means why we are doing this project. We need to understand the reason, that what exactly is the reasoning behind, what is the purpose of this. So when we are talking about the task and the activities, we must understand that each knowledge area is going to have some specific list of tasks or the activities. And for that task or activities, first thing we need to understand is what is the reason why we are doing it. Why we have this activity or the task, why we need to, what is the purpose of it. We need to understand that. Now what value it is going to add. Then what is the description of it. Description, you could have a multiple characteristics of the description. The description could be like, okay, that let's say you are saying that, okay, you have to create a form. To create that form, you could have n number of requirements, and for each of requirements, you will have a different description to it. So for each of the tasks, you must have a description associated with it. Now you need to quantify whether what is the dependency on each of the tasks. What you are going to achieve by completing one task. Is there any relationship? Is there any dependency between one after another? That you need to understand. Then you have something called an input. Input in the sense that, okay, what is your, in a technical word, you need to understand what is a precondition before you can proceed with this task. What is a precondition to complete this task? That's what is your input. So your input could be external, your input could be internal. So that's what you need to understand the task. There should be no assumptions that okay, what input means and what output means. The reason being is input is like a precondition. Always remember that. Okay, so you always have to specify that okay, what exactly is your input and how that is represented. For any of the tasks under any knowledge area, you must classify what the input is all about. Then you have something called an element. What exactly the element means? Element is nothing but it's kind of a structure that okay, when you are going to define this, let's say your input is that okay, your name, email address, that is your input, for example. What format the data should be? That's what the element is all about. Is there any limitation that okay, what platform it should be? Anything related to the format, structure, any key concepts which needs to be defined as an input, as an element, that needs to be defined as part of this. Then you have a technique. That there are each knowledge area have different techniques, different input and different elements. Always remember. But here we are just trying to understand when we say a technique and we are going to study different techniques as part of each knowledge area, what exactly technique means, what is the value of the technique. So technique is nothing but it's a listing of relevant ways how you can achieve any particular task or the activity. What are the different techniques you can apply to have this task completed? So input was your precondition. Element was like the environment and under what circumstances you can do that. Technique is how to do that, how to achieve this task. And then you have a stakeholder. What is a stakeholder? Stakeholder is nothing. Business analyst is a stakeholder. Stakeholder definition is in a nutshell, whoever, any class of people who can negatively and positively impact your project is a stakeholder. Just always remember that. So a stakeholder could be your business analyst or the end customer, any subject matter expert, your QA, if there is a project sponsor, because if the project sponsor takes away the money, you can't proceed with it. Any operational person who is providing you the requirement, any end user who is going to use that system, your project manager could be your stakeholder. So anyone who has any kind of influence on the project could be your stakeholder. That's how the stakeholder works, whether it is a project management word or whether it is a genuine word. So you have a trainer, professional, project manager, everyone is treated as a stakeholder as part of the project. Then the next, now we have talked about the input, element, technique, stakeholder. Let's talk about something called an output. So now we have gone through input, element, technique, identified the stakeholders, and now we are understanding output. Output is nothing but once you process this input under these circumstances, apply these techniques by using these stakeholders, considering these stakeholders, what is the output you are getting after completing the task, after this task is done? What is the output you are getting? That's what you need to, that's what we will be understanding in each of the knowledge base, that how the output is created, how the output is transformed with the help of an input, element, technique, and the stakeholders. Which is the input which is going to have a highest influence on the output. This is what we are going. So moreover, this is the final state after you perform this activity. That's what the activities or the task is all about. So this is one particular topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, So this is something one side, one topic. Now let's understand the another topic, which is called as, now we are understanding in detail something called a, sorry, we already did techniques, we already did over here. Okay, now let's move on. We already understood what the technique is all about, and technique could be anything. Okay, you are doing a brainstorming. How you are doing it? You are doing brainstorming, interviewing, UML. You are identifying the training, process document. All these things comes under your technique. Always try to remember that. Your technique is brainstorming, how you are capturing the business need, how you are defining the activities. That's what your this technique is all about. Okay. Now, the next thing which I am going to talk about is your underlying competencies. In underlying competencies, what are the things we discussed? We discussed about that, okay, anything related to your communication, anything related to that, okay, if you have a software application details, behavioral character, software application, all these things comes under underlying competencies. After the underlying competencies, there are other sources for the business analysis. Okay, and that other sources could be anything. Let's say if you are using the business intelligence, if you are using some specific decision model, or let's say if you are using the agile development. So depending upon what kind of a source you are using it, your other information is going to change. Okay, so now we are going to talk about that, okay, what are the different sources? The different sources could be anything. Your different source could be that, okay, you have a knowledge base and from there you are referring the information. That could be your other source. Let's say other project have gone through some change management process, or there is an organization change management process. That could be the other source for the business analyst to get more information. Then there is a, let's say, SOA, which is your service-oriented architecture. Service-oriented architecture is nothing but, okay, you have a database or you have a repository for the different tools which is developed by the organization which can be reused. So the business analyst must be aware of. Then you have a Six Sigma or the CMM processes which helps you in process improvement. So these are the different areas which you can refer for your as an additional source to identify the good practices or the best practices for the business analysis. So as part of the introduction, this is what it is you or me have to learn as part of the business analysis. So this is the overall introduction of the complete body of knowledge. From next class onwards, we are going to study in detail what each body of knowledge chapter have to talk about in detail. Any question now? Because this is it for today. So we have covered the introduction chapter overall, end to end. Now I am going to unmute you and I'll take any of your questions if you have. Go on. Any question, Nikita?
No questions.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
It sounds like we are repeating most of the things, right?
Right. And more.
But when, yeah, but when it will, I'll tell you, CBAP exam is more from the bookish thing, okay? To pass the exam, you need to know the bookish thing. Okay, that's the trick over here, and that you can do it once we complete this chapter. We need to do lot of practice exams to pass the exam.
Okay. Before it,
Okay?
yeah, I know. Yeah.
What
That
we
would be
will do,
hard.
but first thing, yeah, because we will only be able to do the situational questions, we can do it. But
Okay.
the definition questions, we need lot of practice exam.
Yeah. Thank God
Okay?
it's multiple choice.
Yes, yes, it is multiple choice, so that's the good part.
Yeah.
Okay?
Memorize
But
the definition otherwise.
Yeah, but the trick over here is that what the trick they play in this exam is they give 2 answers or 3 answers, accurate answers, and then they ask you to pick the best one.
Best one, right. So all related,
Okay.
but you have to pick the best one.
Right, right, and that's the trick. So that we learn only when we do the lot of practice exams.
That's true. Otherwise, there's no more chances, like only 2. That's hard.
Yeah, but don't worry. People have passed. You will do good. No issues. I have not seen anyone just going out of the box and just overkilling themselves. As long as they do the practice exams, which we will also do it, you should be in good hands. Okay?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So again, just keep an eye on all the recording sessions and everything. You will see the CBAP folder, how you have it for the facet.
Okay.
Okay, and the calendar also will be updated for this.
Okay, and also I think you have to upload the facet resume, like sample resume, so I can take a look, make my own.
Yes, I'm going to ask them for the facet.
Okay.
I'm going to ask them to do that. Okay?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna depend on the CRAs. I have to do my own.
No, that's fine. That should be okay. Not a big deal.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Okay.
right. All right. Thank you. Bye.